Hello, folks. Welcome to a new week, and welcome to your daily dose of hobby nightmares. Let's jump right in. If you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. The Patreon button is also down below if you want to be involved in the weekly prize draw where you may be getting yourself some Yorkshire tea. So, head on over there, become a Patreon, or stick around here with me and watch a bit of hobby nightmares. Either way, you should be having some fun. Nord says, "Good day, Mr. North. Please call me Norden P, or just Nord, whichever is easier for you." Well, there you go. I have a hobby nightmare here today about my first time going to a local tournament, as well as a couple of random pictures of models I have painted. I hope these are alright to show in one of your end of week streams. They will be, yeah. As long as you name the pictures what your name is, it's fine. Please don't send me emails with random pictures on it, and like image 0001 and image 0002. Please rename the image. Dave 1, Dave 2, Dave 3. That makes it much easier for me. But yes, I can and I will show them on Sundays. The Kokorodon Lieutenant being one I am most proud of, as it was the final purchase and commemoration model of my local Games Workshop closing down the Grimsby store in the UK. Okay. Please excuse any grammatical errors and slips. I can't say I write too often, and I'm also writing this on a mobile phone, so the format might be slightly off. Hopefully this story isn't too long either. No, it's been good so far. Please have sips or gulps of tea when it's best for you. The Hobby Nightmare takes place at a local gaming club, which held bi-monthly tournaments for all sorts of players. It was roughly the start of 8th edition, and I'd been invited to the club to fill in for a tournament dropout. Alright. You're at a disadvantage then, or are you? Because people aren't expecting your army. I don't know. I took my trusty Death Guard, after which, realising I had only 1,000 points for this 2,000 point event, I splurged and kitted myself out with the best units the 14th Legion could offer. I didn't plan on actually winning my games, but my army would certainly look cool whilst losing. Any wins were a bonus. Good attitude. My first of 3 games was against an Orc player. As with most Orc players, he was just having a great time throwing models at my front line. Though his brand new war boss on a bike immediately died in Overwatch turn 1 to a 666 roll on a melter. Look, I've never been able to repeat anywhere else. Undeterred, he took his revenge, unleashing wave after wave of green upon me. However, due to unlucky objective cards, he lost on points. I'll mention now that my third game was very uneventful, so uneventful in fact, that I can't remember a single thing about it. The Hobby Nightmare lies in game number 2. Alright, let me take a sip of tea. I know I mentioned drinking tea whenever, but I do recommend a quick sip here. Well, I took one, thank you. My second game was against World Eaters, back before their own codex dropped in 9th edition. I'll refer to the guy I was playing against as Ryan, not his real name of course. Ryan was a very good player. He was, from memory, the top player of his army in the UK at the time, being one of the best even in Europe. A real achievement for him for sure. What's this guy doing at like a normal, lads tournament? In a I don't know, just odd. We set up the board and got the game underway. The first turn was fairly standard, with Ryan pushing up his Berserker Rhinos and some random chaff standing on a backfield objective. My turn yielded a few wounds and ricochets to the Rhinos, nothing special. During the second turn, his Berserkers got out of their transports and gunned it for my troops/warlord. Khan the Betrayer and his squad dashing for my Typhus and Poxwalkers in the opposite direction. These two fights, however, happened just a few inches away, making 2 small fight pockets in the centre of the board. This is important for later. Yeah, you got to be like shaking your knees together a little bit when you got Khan and a load of World Eaters running towards you. At this time, the Death Guard was a fairly weak codex. Durable, but not really damage dealers. My Warlord Demon Prince, however, had a wonderful relic called the Suppurating Plate. This gave him a better save and a nice bonus to the enemy damage rolls. The bonus in question being that if my Demon Prince successfully passed the save roll, then on a 4+, it would bounce the damage back as mortal wound into the attacking model's unit. That's cool, I like that. That's cool. Funky. Now north, I'm not sure how much you know about the World Eaters, but they have a very good couple of attacks. Yeah, they've got lots of attacks. Lots of hard-hitting close combat attacks. But that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Never, ever, ever have a go at a person for playing their army just like it says in the law. Never do that, right? One sec. Had to sneeze there, sorry. Yeah, never have a go at somebody for playing like orcs by running them across the field at you. Never have a go at anybody for playing Raven Guard in a really sneaky way. Dude, it's literally what the rules tell them to do. You know what I mean? Anyway, from memory, they had the ability to attack normally, an army/unit ability to attack again, then a stratagem to attack a third time. All in all, my prince faced down 100 to 120 melee attacks in this combat. Oh no. That's ridiculous. So like, if each model gets 4 attacks, you know, 2 normally, 1 for 2 close combat weapons, and then 1 for charging, then if he then gets to do that again from an ability, and then again if he uses a stratagem. Wow. That's a lot of attacks. At this time, you could make a logical and calculated guess as to how many of these actually went through, but it wouldn't be as fully as the actual answer. The answer being 2. 2. Whilst better than 0, it isn't quite the 8 or so wounds my prince started with. So, much to Ryan's chagrin, he lived. Praise be to the dice gods for using up my lifetime's worth of luck in one go. Not all of these attacks bounced back, many of those saves being on the Death Guard's 5+ feel no pain roll, which I couldn't bounce back. But the ones that did bounce back slammed into the Servants of Khorne like it was the tabletop equivalent of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Trap card. Remember how I said Khan the Betrayer charged my Poxwalkers? Well, he did that combat first, killing most of the Poxwalkers, with my Typhus now looking very hopeless in that fight, but still in it. Well, the Poxwalkers had an ability that meant enemy models dying at their hands added 1 single Poxwalker back to the unit. Zombies rising back up, if you will. For a command point, this changed to any infantry model dying within 7 inches. Let's just say that for those in range of the now dead Berserkers, half of the Poxwalkers simply stood back up. It was like watching the T-1000 reanimate in Terminator 2 from the pool of mercury. That's hilarious. That's the most Death Guard thing ever. You just killed a load of like Plague Marines and you know, really good stuff. You're like, yeah, and then they all get back up as Poxwalkers. That's so annoying. Ryan was clearly and understandably not happy about this, throwing a couple of dice after failed saves, and even breaking a couple of models, moving them away from the pile. Being the nice guy I am, I offered to give him some glue to fix the damages, and he accepted. At this point, I checked my case and realised I had in fact left my glue at home. So, not only had I just killed these models and watched him break a couple, I even offered to fix them and then pulled the rug out from under him. Oh my god. I was able to get some glue from the neighbouring table though. If you think those were the only models that broke in this game, you'd be quite wrong. A turn or two later, Ryan had calmed down and began winning back the board. My prince had succumbed to his wounds, and now only my Plague Burst crawlers stood a chance in keeping me alive. Ryan deep striked in a 10-man blob of Warp Talons, with a spiky resin Chaos Lord in the middle of the squad. The venue for the event was beginning to get quite chilly, so I put on a nice thick hoodie with baggy arms. Oh, here we go. Never wear anything with baggy arms when you're playing 40k. We're about to find out why, I think. As Ryan thought about his turn, I gave one of his models a compliment, asking to look at it. Trying to bring back a more happy and jovial mood to the board, he said, "Sure thing," and let me take a look at the paint scheme. Not noticing just how close he had deployed his unit to my table edge, my baggy hoodie arm snagged and raised at the chainsword of the Lord, dragging him through the newly placed unit and raising the Lord back into the deep strike. By the time I had noticed, the Lord simply gave up, falling from my hoodie onto the table. North, you wouldn't think a resin model would be heavy enough to break into all of its component parts, but it did. It was like a shattering, priceless vase. I mean, to be honest with you, it's a vase, by the way. To be honest with you, that's a nice clean break. We like that. You know, if it all breaks off into its component parts, you just glue them back together again. It's a clean break. You know? I felt absolutely terrible and apologised profusely. Ryan seemed quite miffed, but still calm, in disbelief that the model had broken the way it had more than anything else. Don't worry, here, let me grab you some glue, I said, reaching for the super glue in my carry case. It wasn't there, of course. I had forgotten for a second time and just looked around in panic, asking for some glue from other players. Thankfully, the table next to us had some super glue too, and we fixed the Lord fairly quickly. Resuming the game, Ryan charged my Plague Burst Crawler with his Warp Talons. They didn't make the charge. In my turn, I fired my tack sponson flamethrowers into the now exposed unit, and they died. All of them. Terrible saving throws from Ryan, in fairness, but that was the last straw for the World Eaters player. As he took his models from my side of the table, he simply threw a couple of them from his grip, furious that they had done so little. North, he threw the Lord, breaking it a second time. My God, that model's gone through some shit today. Thankfully, only one arm came off this time. I stood shocked and quiet, as did the table next to us. The event organiser came over and asked if everything was alright. The Ryan said, "Yeah, of course, why wouldn't it be?" The judge accepted that at face value and wandered off. Yeah, he doesn't want to get saddled with this problem player. Ryan carried out his final turn and won on points, beating me fair and square with no chance of catching up. Though it definitely didn't seem like a win for him, given he'd done so much damage to his models. Oh my God. I mean, this is what I don't understand, you know. It's very clear to me, through the telling of the story and the way the game ended up, that Ryan in this game was just taking his fair share of losses, right? There is such a thing as your fair share of a nosebleed when it comes to 40k. You're going to lose models. And sometimes you're going to lose models in a very silly way. That's 40k, right? It just is what it is. If you can't handle that, you shouldn't be playing 40k. Especially if you're getting annoyed when you win a game because you lost a few models. Nah, no. Dude is not long for this hobby, I think. Nothing else happened like this ever again. I have played against Ryan a few more times since then, and have never seen him act like this since. Though he did wipe the floor with me in the other games, so why would he get annoyed? Thank you for taking the time to read my hobby nightmare. With my apologies for any mistakes in my writing, thank you for all that you do, and have a good one. Cheers, Nord. Yeah, a guy who does this many tournaments and is this much of a competitive player should really know better than to start acting like a man-child because he loses a few models. This guy obviously is not used to losing models at all. He's used to wiping the floor with people as he did with you in your later battles, right? He's used to just annihilating people, laughing at them and carrying on. But when he actually loses models, he loses his shit, right? This is not the kind of guy I'd like to play. Put it that way. That is like a caricature of tournament players. Do you know what I mean? I know you're not all like that. That's why I said the word caricature, right? But yeah, still odd. Julian says, "Hello, North. I hope you're doing quite well. My name is Julian. I am 17 years old from California, and I've been playing Warhammer 40k for a little over 2 years, since the end of 8th edition. I recently started watching your channel a few months back, and I found your hobby nightmares interesting. I wanted to tell you an interesting story, so buckle up. I was playing a game of 40k in Horde mode, if that's a thing, an idea developed by the Poor Hammer podcast to make 40k more team-oriented. Pretty much COD Zombies in 40k. I had recently been testing one of my own edits to Horde mode, Intelligent Horde, with some folks from the Horde mode Discord that would make the game of Horde mode more challenging. We played the game on Tabletop Simulator. Okay. A good place to test out rules, whether they work or not. I was playing Necron Hypercrypt alongside some Death Guard against their Drukhari Horde, and my teammate had a rather interesting behavioural tendency. He didn't cheat at all, but he seemed pretty competitive. Horde mode is a very casual, fun sort of game, and the competitiveness threw me off a bit. He often would recommend that I take actions that I wasn't interested in taking, or tell people the stats of their units without giving them a chance to look it up for themselves first. It was rather annoying, but not necessarily a big problem, something you could deal with. Later in the game, my teammate became more bashful, and rather insulting, commenting things such as, and I quote, "Have you played Warhammer before? What the hell are you doing?" Or, "I can't believe I know your units better than you do." I hardly know Necrons as I play Grey Knights, Eldar and Imperial Fists, a man of culture. But you didn't need to shove it in my face. Yeah. How old was this guy? How old was he? If he's in his 30s, then, I wonder what he's doing playing with 17-year-old dudes on Tabletop Simulator. It's not bad, I just, you should really... I would look at that as kind of like a red flag, being like, that sounds really judgy. It does. But it's true. Like if you're like in your 30s and you're playing video games online with 17-year-olds who are like, you need to be on Discord with quite a lot. I mean, I don't know, man. Seems a bit off to me, that's all. But if it's your age, then fair enough. That's why I was saying, because if he's your age, then I can understand why the behaviour is a little bit off, Because you're young. You say stupid shit. It comes with the territory. Like, I was once teaching a kid in, I think it was Garston somewhere. Anyway, so I was teaching him, and his dad was a newly rich dude. So he was a builder who'd made it big. Working class guy, but no nonsense, really nice bloke. And after our tutoring session, I'm having a cup of tea in the kitchen with his dad, and the kid walks in, and the kid's like, 17, 18, going to university soon, and he's just talking all of this hippie bullshit, just like, yeah, dude, I mean, and he's like just talking like that. And I look at his dad, and his dad literally behind this kid's back just blows air out of his cheeks and shakes his head while he stirs his cup of tea. And that's how moronic people who are teenagers can be. Do you know what I mean? It makes your head shake. You're like, oh my god, how did you just say that? Anyway, he would often argue about rules with the player controlling the intelligent horde, which led to me often having to tell them to calm down and help them set the rules straight. Once actually pinging a GT player in my area to ask him to confirm something for us. The game ended with quite a bang, however. My teammate and the intelligent horde player got into another argument, and I again attempted to get them both to calm down. The intelligent horde player seemed to have had enough of my teammate's crap, and disconnected from the server and the voice call. My teammate then proceeded to call the other player an idiot and insult him on the voice chat. I told him that insulting people isn't acceptable, and asked him kindly to be respectful, to which he promptly closed his server and exited the voice chat, leaving me on my own. I have never, in my years of playing Magic the Gathering or Warhammer 40k, encountered a player with such awful behaviour. I was taken aback quite a good bit. I really hope I do not encounter such players anymore, but as 40k moves away from the more casual side to the competitive, I believe it will become an inevitable encounter. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for reading my story. Julian. Okay. Yeah, I've said this before. It is going more competitive. That is where we're going, right? Video games have a lot to do with that. I did a video on it a while ago. Video games have a lot to do with that. About the trajectory the hobby is taking and where the money is. The money is in competitive play. Getting the newest, shiniest thing to help you win your local tournament or whatever. So, I can understand why it's becoming such a thing, but I also understand your trepidation of this becoming a thing. But I honestly do think people equate competitive 40k to butthurt 40k. That's not always the case. It's not. You can't throw an entire section of the hobby under the bus just because of one or two bad actors. And there are many bad actors in the competitive space. I'm not saying there aren't. Right? I mean, put it this way. We saw that Vanguard Tactics video ages ago where they're trying to show the really cool, part of the hobby. It's competitive gaming is good. It's all great. You've got to be a gentleman on the tabletop. Okay, fair enough. Only for the main tabletop Vanguard Tactics guy to be facing a guy who doesn't really know his rules and maybe cheating a little bit, and the Vanguard Tactics guy just throws a wobbler and leaves and doesn't want to continue the game, picks his models up and leaves. I mean, it's not good. It's not a good look for the competitive scene, is what I'm saying. I had to go with that video at the time. I don't think it should have come out. I think if Vanguard Tactics was trying to bring more people to the competitive side of the hobby, that video was not the way to do it. Absolutely not. And I said, could you please not use the footage of when I collected my models away from the table? Because it looked like I was having a really bad time, and if that's a guy like Vanguard Tactics, who, let's be honest, if you're facing the dude from Vanguard Tactics, you would not be trying to cheat, right? So the fact that this guy is, if he's doing that against him with a camera right there, what's he going to do against you? What are all these competitive players going to do against you? Some no-mark, some random dude in a tournament. I can see why it would turn people off. It is what it is. I'm afraid it is what it is. And I'm not a competitive player myself. I've said that many times, and I'm not that huge on the rules either. So I'm not going to sit here wagging my finger telling you how to play your hobby, dude. It's not going to happen. But if you don't want competitive play, maybe try and curate your own group around you of narrative players, narrative gamers, because that's the way the hobby's going. It's going more competitive, and that's just how it is. Mason says, let me take a sip of tea first. Alright. Mason says, hello North, you can call me Mason. I've been in the hobby for a few years now and I've been loving it. I started out painting little Dungeons and Dragons minis and then moved on to Warhammer when I saw the cardboard cutout of an Ultramarine in a store window. I've collected a fair amount of Salamander Space Marines, and I have a penchant for kit bashing, and I've included a picture of my Terminator Captain, and I will use that on Sunday. Yes, I will use that on Sunday. The hobby has been a huge part of my day-to-day life, and I value it immensely. This is probably a good spot for some tea before I get into the actual hobby. No, I've had tea. I'm alright. I'm good. A note. This isn't a drama-packed epic by any means. This is my story, or I've had conflict with the local gaming culture where I live. Generally, I play 40k with my friends. We have a club, as it were, and we hang out and throw dice for an hour or so at someone's house or at the common area. I had heard about the gaming stores and how the communities were invaluable to the hobby culture, so recently I decided to put myself out there. Dude, that's never an easy thing to do. Never easy. One Saturday morning, when I didn't have much to do, I headed to my local hobby store and toted along my salamanders, hoping to catch a game or two and learn the ropes of 10th edition from some veterans. I showed up to the store around 1 PM, and there was literally no one there except for the owners. I talked to them for a bit, and one of them said, just take a table and hang out for a second. And so I sat. The owners were sitting outside and I was literally the only person in the store. I browsed their inventory, bought some bits, and then sat down again. The owner just kept telling me that people would show up eventually. After an hour and a half of waiting, I decided to just come back later in the day. At around 6 o'clock later that evening, I showed back up, put my army on the table, and to my surprise, there were already a few containers with models in them on the tables. Plastered with inappropriate political stickers, which made me super uncomfortable. Okay. That's always a bad sign. I don't care what kind of stickers they are. If you've got really out there political stickers on your laptop, on your carry case, whatever, I'm not playing you. I don't care what side it is. I don't want it in my face. I don't want it. I know you're going to start preaching to me at some point. I'm not interested. Okay? I'm not interested. A group of people came in, and I small talked with them as they got their armies out. They all separated into pairs and began to play with each other. I, with nobody to play a game with, had to sit and watch. I sat while they all played a whole 5-turn game, which lasted 3 hours, and outside of some strained and uncomfortable back and forth talk, I was pretty much ignored. It was now around 9 p.m. When they were done, I asked if anyone would be down to play a small 500-point game. I originally wanted to play larger and a longer game, but I knew that I had no chance of that happening that evening. They kind of just shrugged and said that the store was closing soon and we didn't have enough time. I, defeated and frustrated, just grabbed my stuff and walked out. It was completely dark outside at that point. I had wasted my entire Saturday sitting on my ass waiting to play Warhammer. I haven't been back to the store since. I'm still not sure what exactly to make of this situation. I've had issues fitting in socially, so this certainly hasn't helped. I'm debating whether to just stick to my new friends, just like Warhammer, who also like Warhammer, or to try and find a different store and group. Thanks for listening. What do you think I should do? Sincerely, Mason. Well, you hit the nail on the head there when you said you yourself are quite, shall we say, awkward. You know, that's fine. But that's not going to be conductive to you going out and jumping in at the deep end. It seems to me like you've taken on too much too soon. You've bitten off more than you can chew. You've gone into a hobby store where nobody knows you, and you've tried to say, you know, hey guys, here I am, let's play some Warhammer. But you don't have the confidence to do that, so you've sat there all day and generally been quiet. And I'm telling you now, if you're as awkward as you sound, as you've made yourself sound here, I'm not surprised other people were just giving you one or two one-word answers back and then just getting on with their game. Do you know what I mean? Because they would feel like you were not really up for talking, or, you know, you're making small talk kind of a thing, you know? If you go in like with a bubbly attitude of like, hey dude, you know, how's it going, man? Yeah, I'm really looking to get a game in today. You will get a game. Okay? If you let it known to people right from the start when they come in, hey guys, sorry, I'm new, I'm available to have a game. Just, you know, don't be afraid of rejection. If you got rejected here, but it took you 8 hours to get rejected, if you're there straight away and they all say, hey, we're in groups together here today, but, you know, another time maybe, then at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon you can leave. You're like, okay, I'm done. I'll see you later, right? Come back another day or go find yourself another group. You haven't wasted all of your time. Do you know what I mean? It sounds to me like you already have a Warhammer group, though. So, in that case, why don't you go together? That's a good thing to do. Go with an opponent already set up, ready to go. One of your friends that you're already there with. You go in and you start mingling around then as an equal, rather than somebody who's there trying to get a game going with somebody who's a complete stranger, right? You go in with your friends, you chill out, you have fun, and you start meeting new people that way in the hobby. That's what I would do. Get these new friends to come with you to your local hobby store. And if they can't do that because they're in another area entirely, then what I would do is maybe work on your approach. Like go in to a store with the wherewithal to play 40k. Don't sit around like a spare prick at a wedding, and, you know, because it will creep people out. If you're just sitting around, not gaming, not doing anything, and being quiet, I wouldn't want to play you. You know, I wouldn't come up to you looking for a game. If you asked me for a game, I'd do it if I had nobody to play with. Yeah, sure. But if I do have people to play with, then I'm not going to play you because you're just sitting around, you know, being quiet. I think a lot of this story is they're not actually the issue. They're not the issue. They're there with their friends having fun, dude. You know, if you want to get involved, and get involved. Like, get involved. Get up. Walk around straight away. Walk around, talk to them, have fun. Act like you're having fun. And let people know you want to play Warhammer 40k. You're available. Right? What you've done there is kind of like going to a dating event and then sitting in the corner and then wondering why no women come up to you. Right? That's your fault. You should get up, you should walk around, you should mingle, you should talk to people. You know, Warhammer is a social hobby. And it's not going to bend or break for you. It's a social hobby, man. So you've got to get out there and you've got to talk to people. If you can't do that, then I would advise getting your friends to come with you next time, and you can start to mingle that way, right? That's my advice for what you should do. It is pretty typical what you went through, but it's only typical for somebody who acts the way you did. And you go in and you sit there at a table, pretty quiet, and you don't really say anything to anybody. Yeah, pretty typical. I've seen people do it a lot, and especially running a games workshop and running a hobby store. You will see guys like you come in, and they'll sit there, be really shy, not get any games in, and then eventually, one week they'll get a game in, really enjoy it, and come back again and again and again and again, right? And have friends. So eventually, the dam does break. The dam does break, and once you get one game in, and people know you're a sound guy, you'll get lots of games in, and people generally like you, right? So I wouldn't worry about that too much. But make sure you get yourself out there, dude. Don't be sitting in the corner. Do not sit in hot water and complain it's hot, right? Get out of the hot water and go and find yourself some friends, all right? I love you a long time. I will speak to you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares. We've got a few doozies coming up this week, so it should be a good one. I'm going to start getting through my backlog this week. I love you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye now.